Criminal captors are estimated to earn $150 billion in profits from forced labor and modern slavery, $99 billion from sex work, and $51 billion from agriculture work. The battle against modern slavery is often based on deeply entrenched misconceptions. Today, we are interviewing Bukeni Waruzi from Free the Slaves to bring us clarity on what modern slavery is and the solutions that we can be involved with to end slavery once and for all. Bukeni has helped put a Congolese warlord behind the bars at the International Criminal Court, releasing more than 360 children in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Today, Bukeni is the executive director of Free the Slaves, and for more than 20 years, Bukeni has been helping free slaves, including helping women trafficked into domestic servitude in the Middle East, and has served as human rights champion within America, European, and African organizations. Welcome to the Goodviral podcast, and welcome, Bukeni.
Bukeni, we're so grateful to have you aboard today, and I've really been looking forward to this interview. And I just want to the thing I really want to start with, and I want to hear it directly from you, is why does your organization exist? And why are people interested in what it is that you all are doing?
Free the Slaves, which is a leading organization in the anti-modern slavery movement, anti-modern slavery, which includes human trafficking, forced labor, child labor, and modern slavery in general. We know this is the biggest issue of our times. Why? There are nearly 50 million people in modern slavery today. And that number was not the same back in 2017. So there are more and more people entering modern slavery, meaning more and more people who are trafficked, who are in forced labor situation, and more children in child labor. So, and why this is important also is because it is a very big business. It is a very big business because it is profitable to those traffickers. Because of the trafficking business, they are able to bring in more than 150 billion US dollars a year.
My God. Wow.
So as you can see, this is not a small deal. It is a big deal. And our organization is one of those that are trying to make sure this can end. You don't make money over people. You don't exploit people for you to make money. That is the underlying principles, which unfortunately is the reality of the world we live in today.
And I think a lot of people, and I'm sure you have experienced this from others as well, is the question of what is modern slavery? Because when we think of slavery, we think of something that's in the past. And the example you just gave us, right, is moving people across borders, especially as a method. And, we think mostly sex slavery is a thing which is definitely there. What is kind of the slavery that people may be exposed to but don't realize that's right next door or just down the street or perhaps just across the border? Like, give us an idea of, and our listeners an idea of what they're not seeing but is blatantly in front of them.
Yeah, thanks so much, Anastasia, for that question, which is a very important one. Modern slavery is defined as the fact that someone is coerced in being exploited over by someone who has more power, and the person who is exploiting is doing that for profit. Here you have two dynamics. One is the exploited doesn't have the power to get out of it, and the person enjoying the exploitation is benefiting from it. So that dynamics is what define what modern slavery is. And you can reflect back. Let's say if you think back during the 17th centuries when slavery existed, it did have the same characteristics. Exploitation of someone who is vulnerable by someone who want to gain profit, which can be financial or for his own leisure. It is just modern because in many places slavery has been abolished, but it took a different nature, trafficked from Costa Rica to India. When you get to India, you have no ways. You have no way of escaping. Your passport is taken, and you are subject to the exploitation, a severe and rude one. Of course, there is no easy one. Or think about issues of debt bondage. Your family owes something, and for generations you keep paying that debt. Or you are forced into labor, into doing kind of forced labor, where maybe a day you are being paid maybe $5, and you have no choice than doing that because you need to make ends meet. And and here you can see the notion of exploitation. It's still there always, because you want to make ends meet. You don't have any income. You go into any kind of work just to make something to eat. And where you find yourself working for $5 in some of the plantations of the agricultural industries here in the United States, and you make peanuts for you to live. But people making money, they are making billions of dollars in profit. Or imagine child labor, or those kids in the Democratic Republic of Congo going into the cobalt mining to dig cobalt, where industries like car industries or maybe the technology industries buying the cobalt that is being produced by children, where maybe the daily income they got is maybe $3 a day. And these big companies benefiting from that cheap cobalt. How much money you can imagine the Teslas and others they make for having these kind of electric batteries for the cars that we drive. They rely on that cobalt, where the child is paid, merely paid, and in many cases sometimes they don't even get paid. That is the exploitation of the vulnerable by the most powerful for the purpose of making money or for their own personal leisure. So that is how you have to contextualize what we call modern slavery to slavery that existed. It is just the nature has changed. It's no longer those people in chains that we saw crossing the Atlantic through those ships. Or what we know, the working in plantations in the West, of course, in the United States. Those chains are now the conditions, because you have someone who is in condition of poverty. And of course, the main driving factor of slavery or of modern slavery is poverty. Poverty is being exacerbated by these factors that we know today. So, Anastasia, your question is very important, and probably, it is something that we know. Sometimes we go to do our nails. When, for example, my wife wants to go do, their these nail salons. You will find people who may not speak English. They don't talk to you at all. They just do the work, but you don't know how they get there. Chances are they are working for a master, but they cannot say anything. Otherwise, there will be retaliations. Doesn't have a legal document. Probably that does not have even a decent place to sleep. Doesn't speak the language, and cannot do anything.
Can I comment? Because you're so that I understand what you're saying. It sounds that like basically slavery has moved into, in a sense, a more intelligent type of slavery where they can hide slavery in plain view. By paying such a small amount of money, it appears like it's not slavery, but in actuality, the people are completely trapped, and they have no way of getting out of their situation, and they'll never get ahead. They'll never be able to escape from this hole that they're in. And so the idea of paying them such a small amount is basically just so that they can publicly so that people will look the other way and not even think about it. Or if we see, like you say, a beautiful nail salon where, there's beautiful lightings and beautiful paint on the walls and a beautiful room, and you think that it's a legitimate business, and yet you don't realize that that person that's working there with you is actually totally trapped in that situation. So what you're saying basically is that modern slavery is a progressed version, yes, of the same thing.
Absolutely, it is, and it has even its magnitude, its scale, mm-hmm, is quite huge because it is everybody. I mean, everyone is really susceptible to being in modern slavery if you look into these conditions. The situation that they are in, those are the chains.
We were discussing a little bit before we got onto the call with you, and we were kind of perusing a bit more on the site, freetheslaves.net. And, it was interesting there. I saw one of the coalitions you guys are partner with is the cocoa or cacao, yes, partnership. And I was like, wait, chocolate? And so, and also on one of your videos, I talked about coffee. And yes, I remember, when I'm in South Korea right now, and Demian's in Spain, and we're both from the United States. And so we were familiar, with products having the fair trade logo on there. And, Europe kind of has something similar. And basically saying people are getting paid a good amount of money to work in this industry to produce you coffee or, chocolate, whatever it may be. But I honestly didn't think of it in terms of slavery. I thought it in terms of they just weren't paying them good salaries, right? They were just paying them okay salaries. And, seeing that, as something clicked onto my brain, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't quite always think about the raw materials that we all enjoy, which is, partially food like coffee and chocolate. And then, as you were saying, cobalt for creating for our cars, or even fisheries, as, Demian had discovered through some of his research as well. And so there's this interesting going to the nail salon where you see slavery right in front of you, just don't realize it, and maybe you've heard things before, but you almost feel powerless to be able to do anything in that situation, as well as when you go to the grocery store. It's like, what can I trust? What can I do? So, I think that this question is, we have all of these products and things that we use on a daily basis, or we feel like we need. What are some things that we can do that can kind of prevent us from encouraging the problem? That's one thing. And then also, how can we help free the slaves to do more to help free more modern slaves today?
Exactly, Anastasia. Thank you again for raising that up. Yes, chocolate is good, is yummy.
It is very. I don't want to give it up. That's what I'm saying.
I know chocolate, but the issue of forced labor in global supply chain remains really a kick in the ass in the global businesses. Why? Because you can see the chocolate that we eat in the developed country. What about those chocolates that are sold in the global south countries? In the global north, there are some regulations that businesses have to abide by. And one of them is to ensure the goods that we consume in the global north are not tainted by child labor or forced labor or any of those. But what I can tell you that in the global south, you have a huge a sector, which is the informal sector, that is cheap enough for manufacturers and other companies to buy raw materials. If you go in those agriculture sector in the global south, you will find a widespread usage of child labor and forced labor. But you will not know that when you are eating that chocolate. But down there, it is just a nightmare for those involved in the global child supply chain as they produce these raw materials. For example, who will know when you go buy a Tesla that the battery in the car, sorry, I'm not accusing Tesla per se, I'm just giving an example. Who will know when you go buy a brand new electric car? How will you know that the battery came from a country called Congo in Africa, and Congo produces 80% of the world's production of cobalt. The battery that you want to buy electric car because it is one you need to have, but you don't know that chances are that battery, the cobalt or the raw materials were actually produced by children of age of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11. So what we can do is really to make sure we are aware. Child labor or forced labor or human trafficking exists. Or if you walk into a hotel, you will find some of the cleaners. They don't say anything. Maybe that cleaner want to escape, but she doesn't have any ways. But what we can do is when you find yourself in those situations, if you are aware that what I'm doing here in the hotel where I am sleeping, in the car, the car that I'm buying, it is electric car. The chocolate that I am consuming, the rug that is in my house, chances are these products are tainted by forced labor. What can you do? One, in the case of the hotel, talk to the person, talk to that lady who is coming to clean. See if that lady can even talk. Chances are probably she doesn't speak English. Chances are she doesn't want to talk. That is the number one sign. There's a possible that she's being trafficked for that kind of job. It is very important as we think of these goods that we enjoy in the global north. It is good that we question where they come from. How will you do that? If you come to free the slaves, we'll give you a holistic tips that how you can identify child labor or forced labor or human trafficking as you enjoy this product. In the global north, there are some kind of a due diligence that are being made by the by the CBP, the custom and the customs and border protection of the United States, trying hard to work with importers and exporters, but in many other ways they don't. Or for example, if you go to Canada, is even unwilling to put in place mechanisms that will trace forced labor for any goods that enters Canada. Businesses enjoy forced labor.
Mm-hmm.
They enjoy it because it is profitable. They make a lot of money out of forced labor. And business is about making profit. They enjoy this. So the work we do have as free the slaves is a tough one. Because we don't have money, we rely on individual contributions, on grants some good people give us to fight this. But we are fighting against these businesses, but which is very tough fight. But we are very resilient. We are very determined to never give up because human life is very critical, is very important. And we want to make sure really the goods that we consume in the United States and anywhere else in the world are good, free of forced labor, child labor, and human trafficking is very important.
So I have a question then, because again, just the feelings that emotional feelings that I'm experiencing, hearing about all of these things is very difficult to deal with, and of course, especially when we think about how almost anything that we purchase or consume could be connected to some evil form of slavery. I think what's probably very, very important for me and for other people is to also feel like that at the same time that the work that's being done to combat against it is having some success. So can you share with us some of the ways that you all feel like you might be helping or contributing to helping people, and some of the success that might be coming from this, so that people like myself can also feel like, okay, yes, we can do something about this problem. Maybe we can't solve it, but we can help the problem. So can you share with us some of those stories, perhaps?
The picture is dark and even darker, but there are some goods news that are happening from, as a result of some of the work that we do. And I'm so proud of it. For example, we do have a program to identify and help freed some of the people that are stuck in slavery. I can give an example of Senegal. We have a program that we do run together with the U.S. government through the Department of State and a partner in Georgia, APRIS, to identify girls who are trafficked in southern south of Senegal in the gold mining region. Those girls, they are trafficked from Nigeria to southern Senegal in the gold mining region of Kedugu, where they are used as sex slave for the miner, for the gold miners. So our work has been to identify them and actually give them a shelter before they can be repatriated, go back home with a package to and their reintegration in the community so that they can gain the dignity. This takes me to talk about survivors. There are so many out there that are in a situation where they need to be empowered, to get the support they need so that they can recover. So these recovery programs need the resources that are required to support their recovery. Free the slave, we really take at the core of our mission to ensure the work that we do is survivor informed, so that the need, the experiences, and the dignity of survivors are really central to our program development and the delivery. The second success that we are very proud of is we were able to make sure that at global level we influence key institutions to ensure that there is some sort of accountability, the commitment people make to end this tragedy. And we were able to work through the United Nations, the UN, with its Alliance 8.7, which is a partnership of many countries that commit to end modern slavery, forced labor, child labor, and human trafficking. But the problem, as we know, politicians are always politicians. They will tell you we will do A, B, C, Y, X, and Z. And then at the end of the day, there's nothing happens. So how do you hold them accountable? That's why we initiated the process of holding countries accountable for lack of delivery on their promises or their commitment. I'm very glad because this will affect all the countries. Many countries are around the world. And then 3, we are a leading organization that is very well known for bringing together the different stakeholders to discuss and put in place approaches that can help address these issues at local level. So for the first time, we really since last year we have organized these forums at at the national at the regional level in Africa, Asia, the Caribbean, North America, and Europe. We organize 6 regional forums, bringing together key stakeholders, all included the government, the survivors, the businesses, everybody, and civil society organizations, because it's a big problem that cannot be addressed by one country or one institution or one organization only. We will need all of us together, including you in the media as well, to really come together to really talk about what works. How can we end this? To increase the awareness and the global education, because your listeners will have the chance to learn more about this. But there are millions of others that have no idea. They're just enjoying the chocolate. I am sure your listeners will, when they go buy the chocolate, they will pay a little bit more attention, saying, "Hey, how do I know this isn't coming from child labor?" You really help free people in modern slavery. but also bringing everybody together to really find and really to discuss and put in place mechanisms and approaches that are working very well to end this, but also bringing countries, because to end this, it's not only me. I can be aware. You can be aware. You can discuss this, but we also need our policymakers to come on board. That's why this accountability frame. But we need them to come on board. But we also want to hold them accountable.
There was a lot there that I want to talk about, but we don't have that much time today. That was amazing. Thank you.
Well, yes.
But one of the things, and I think the accountability piece is really what people are in a sense looking for. I've heard this sing-song happening all the time, whether they're a politician or they're even a business owner, and they're saying all these promises, and yet we don't actually see fulfillment or accountability to those promises. And I think we've always been looking for a way to create more accountability in that way. And I feel like there's a lot of pressure that we are looking for to put on these people and these institutions, really, and cycles of product creation. And as consumers, in a sense, we always feel like it's on us to do that, right? Don't buy this chocolate, buy this chocolate. Well, it's like, well, how do you know, right? And so it's more about, to me, I feel like it's more about the accountability piece than it is to choosing the chocolate. Of course, you should be aware, but pushing accountability is really that piece. And I think it's interesting, and what I love about this podcast is that we get people who are or have worked on the ground, literally doing these things especially for you, is to free the slaves. And I kind of want to hear a little bit more of like specific stories, if you can. We really like to hear one or two stories that really stick out for you when doing work with freeing the slaves, or in that category of helping people get out of slavery. Because reading your bio is so fascinating, because in there, talks about how you yourself had created a nonprofit group of, Child Soldiers Project, but also is that you are also part of helping to convict a warlord because you took a video. I mean, you were literally on the ground to help put away somebody who is doing, who is profiteering from slavery and other things.
And a very dangerous person, I gather, right?
Very dangerous person. I feel like there could be a movie about you, Bukeni. Starring Denzel Washington, and maybe Stallone comes out, or who knows. But please tell us a specific story that you may have when it came to helping someone be free, because Free the Slaves, I saw on your website, you've helped free the slaves, and as well as you working with them, has helped free 14,000 people. So there's got to be a story in there.
Having done this for more than 2 decades in this sector of kind of freeing people, helping people. At personal level, of course, I worked on, kind of freeing child soldiers. Being from Congo, where I am from, and Congo was at war, went into a camp where kind of, small children were being trained to fight, to fight on the front lines as soldiers. So you can imagine a 7-year-old boy, or being taught how to kill someone, including his own relatives, as a result of him being a great soldier. I had a transit center, a shelter, and there is one day from the transit center came to me early morning. They told me, Bukeni, we had a problem. We have a problem. And what problem? I said, the girl that we brought almost a week ago killed her own child. We were able to bring. I brought one from the camp. She was a girl. She was in the 17, 18, and she had a baby. That baby was probably maybe 8 or 9 months. At the transit center, that girl killed her own child. And when we asked her why, she said the child was bothering her. So you can imagine that kind of a mental destruction that the girl has already undergone. Imagine that kind of crime, someone taking someone's girl and to take her to become a soldier or a sex slave for the for other soldier, and try to transform her completely to the point that the girl feels like, to kill my own child, my own baby, it's good because then I'm gonna be free. It is a different set of mind. That is not a human mind, especially from the education perspective. The other one, the other example, because I'm conscious of the time, the other example is at Free the Slaves. I got a chance to travel to Ghana. And in Ghana, with my team, we went to visit some of the children that were freed, that we helped free under a U.S. government program, JTIP. And I met a group of them. There were nearly 30 of them. And as we're talking about dreams and really how they have been able to reintegrate them, and while one of them said, since I came back from the fishing, because the Ghana problem was that you have so many young people being recruited to become fishers, and and now you can imagine these were fishers. The bad thing is that you're gonna eat fish, but these fish are being, they came from child labor, and these children, they cannot go to school. I was like, oh. So I met with these children that we helped free from fishing in the Lake Volta in Ghana. And as we're talking, they were telling me stories in terms of how their lives has been now changed. And one thing that one girl said, Bukeni, I could not imagine that I could go back to school and be the same. And that was why. He said, because for the years I spent on the lake, I only knew that the whole world is about to go fish, and you sell fish, and then you go give the money to your master, and that was the life that I knew was better life. But now I can go to school, I can go play, I can talk to our headmaster in school to tell them what other kids feel. I can be the advocate for other kids. It's something that never occurred to me. So these are stories that really I always reflect on and see the little contribution at personal level. Of course, my story back in the Congo, when I talk about child soldiers, that's why taking one of the warlords to court and seeing him stand trial and actually convicted and sentenced under the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court for using child soldiers. He was a dream come true, because I could not imagine someone can be tried for that. So in all of this, it really reminds us that the importance of our advocacy is very critical for the world, for saving humanity. And I'm particularly honored to do that kind of a small contribution, because children are the future. We all have been children. Imagine if someone could have taken me when I was 7 or 8 and being transformed that way and seeing the world in a perspective of a warlord. That will not be the same person I am today. Or that girl who killed her own son of 6 months. If today you ask her why, she can't even imagine it's her who did that. Or those girls I met in Ghana, as they now recount their lives, you may not know how they now feel the experience of going to be, the experience they went through, how that was just wrong. These stories are many, there are millions. Of course, we can share them with your listeners. They just need to go to our website. They can find many more stories. They can find these successes. they can learn more about our work, and they can learn more in terms of how they can get involved. Because we need the involvement of everybody. That's why I thank you so much for doing this. This is what we want. You can imagine, the more people know, the more people are aware, the more we can prevent this from happening.
You just mentioned exactly the very thing that I wanted to talk to you about, because as you're telling these stories, I feel guilty, because I feel like my life is such a good life compared to the suffering that so many of these people have, and it makes me, when I'm in my normal life, I'm worried about which kind of food is cheaper, or I'm worried about what kind of I'm going to buy a motorcycle. Which motorcycle do I want to buy? Or these things that seem so superficial as part of my normal life. So really, what I want our listeners to participate in, and what I want to accomplish with this interview with you is really a call to action to people, to myself, and to everybody who's out there listening, to say, hey, look, this is something that we need to stop treating like it's a problem that exists on another planet. It's actually right here in our own country, in our own neighborhood, perhaps, maybe even in our own building, if we live in a building. These are things that are going on all around us. And so I want you to speak a little bit more, if you can, besides the obvious of donating. And obviously, I want to repeat that, because if people do feel like they can donate money, they should donate to the good work that you're doing. But besides donating, when people decide, hey, I want to be more educated, I want to be more involved, I want to do something, what are some things that you can really suggest to them?
Yes, that's really great, Damian. One, modern slavery happening. Modern slavery happens locally, as you say, is not a strange issue that is in other places. It is in our own backyard, and people being exploited are in our own backyard. They are not ghosts or whatever. They are coming. No, they are here, and those who also profit from that, they are here in around the world. We need this kind of education to spread across our communities, in schools, in businesses, in many areas where you have young people, old people, everybody alike, to get access to the information. And what you're doing, with your listener, is what we want. We want this kind of material, kind of information to be available. They can also come to visit our website, but also to support us. On someone who want to even learn even more further, we organize the forums. Right now, we there is one global forum that's happening in the Dominican Republic in May. The registrations are still going on. It's called Freedom from Slavery Forum. This is where you have everybody, the government, the businesses, media, everybody come together to have a global discussion on what's going on, how can we put an end in it. It is a global platform that helps even learn more. No one can be proud of modern slavery. No one can be proud of forced labor. No one can. This is one of the issues that doesn't make anybody proud. The feeling that you have, Damian, is the feeling that many people in the global West have. In the global North. Said, hey, we have all these things that are very good for us, but we have no idea that there are other people really in extreme poverty or suffering that need our help, that need us to pay our attention, that need us to do something. So help. If you have $10 and you want to learn more, please go to the website if you want to join the global discussions.
For everyone who's listening, Free the Slaves is also on Twitter and Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. So whatever your favorite platform is, please go to that platform and follow them. You can find all those links on the website at freetheslaves.net. Thank you so much, Bukeni. One thing I want to kind of finish our conversation with is a thought I have. So I'm originally from the state of Colorado in the United States. And, a country, the United States, is about 340-ish million people. And, when you guys drop in numbers like, hey, there's 50 million slaves in the world, probably more, right? And if you put that into numbers, that's 1 out of 5 people in the United States. In those times of numbers would be a slave, if you think about it. And that is just mind blowing to me. And I'm from Colorado, and I come from a ranching community up in the mountains. And something we learned not terribly long ago, which is kind of sad how long it took, the FBI actually came to all these small communities and was like, hey, by the way, Colorado, where we were at, is the highway for human trafficking. And everyone, absolutely everyone, was completely shocked. And then after we thought about it, we weren't really shocked, right? It made more sense once we started to really think about it. And so it is in your backyard.
Because explain why? Because it is the way over the mountains, basically.
It is the way through the mountains, but also
mountains.
Human trafficking was happening in the mountains, and people are staying, but more of a transient state. But still, it is happening in your backyard. It's happening at your nail salon. It's happening in your neighbor's house, perhaps, and it's happening across the world, like in Congo with the cobalt mines and etc. It is a big problem, and it's a problem that can also be solved in lots of different ways.
Absolutely.
And I think For the Slaves is a wonderful solution that you guys are really doing. Thank you so much, Bukeni, for being on the podcast with us. We are honored to have you in this organization, and hopefully we can really get our audience members here to go and follow, donate, share this podcast episode, and share it for theslaves.net, please.
No, thank you so much, Anastasia and Damien, for having me. It's really an honor, honestly, to be on this show with you. And thank you so much for this conversation. The question you asked, very, very clear questions. And I hope that the listeners have learned something, and that, we will be, I will be all in this as we try to make sure it ends.
Thank you for listening to the Good Viral podcast and being part of the conversation. If you are inspired by this episode, go to our website at goodviral.org, where you can find resources and listings from the episode to continue good efforts.
Like, comment, and share this episode to any or all of your social media channels. It's really easy to take a small action, and maybe you'll inspire a big result.
When good goes viral, the world gets better.